I walked into the office that morning with the usual rhythm in my step, coffee in hand, the rich, nutty aroma curling into my senses like a familiar lullaby. The fluorescent lights hummed softly above, casting long reflections across the polished floor, glinting off the sleek edges of desks. It should have felt normal, routine. But something was off. Sliding into my chair, the chair's fabric cool against my skin, I opened my laptop. The screen lit up, but what I saw made my chest tighten, a sharp hitch in my breath. My eyes darted across the familiar folders, the ones I had poured months of nights and weekends into, gone. Just gone. I leaned in closer, my fingers grazing the smooth surface of the keyboard as if touching it could restore what had been erased. Nothing. Each keystroke felt hollow. The low murmur of the office, the distant ringing of phones, even the hum of the HVAC, everything blurred into a muted soundtrack of disbelief. "No, they can't," I whispered, my voice barely audible over the gentle clicking of keys from other desks. My lips barely moved, but the words landed heavy inside me. Betrayal. Pure, sharp betrayal. I took a sip of coffee, hoping its warmth would ground me. The rich bitterness burned my tongue, waking me up, but nothing could shake the feeling in my gut. I had built this campaign, line by line, late nights after the office emptied, weekends where my only companion was the hum of the fluorescent lights and the faint echo of my own thoughts. And now, nothing. I stood, pacing slowly, fingertips brushing the edge of my desk, tracing invisible lines where documents had once lived. My reflection shimmered faintly in the window, the city stretching beyond, indifferent. I pressed my palms against the glass, feeling the cool smoothness, and whispered again, almost to myself, not on my watch. I thought about the emails, the spreadsheets, the decks I had carefully constructed, each slide a testament to late nights, missed dinners, the quiet sacrifices no one noticed. And now, all erased, replaced with an empty folder. My jaw tightened, my knuckles white against the laptop. Anger simmered beneath the surface, mingled with that sharp, prickling sting of disbelief. The office felt heavier now. Every click, every low murmur of colleagues working on their own projects felt distant, almost intrusive. I could hear the faint swish of the coffee machine, the soft scuff of shoes on the floor, but it all felt like it belonged to a world I had been ripped from. I walked past the meeting room where my team would soon gather. I could almost hear their laughter, the camaraderie, the shared late-night jokes about presentations and client calls. They didn't know yet, and I had to keep it that way. A strategy forming, slow, deliberate, taking shape in the back of my mind. Sitting back down, I let my hands hover over the keyboard. I didn't touch it right away, just breathed, letting the tension build. The hum of the computer, the flicker of the screen, the faint smell of coffee lingering in the air, it all grounded me in this moment of raw, undeniable reality. I could feel every nerve in my body coiling, not in despair, but in quiet, simmering determination. This wasn't just about erased files. This was about respect, recognition, the invisible labor that so often went unnoticed, especially in a place where people who looked like me were expected to work twice as hard for half as much credit. The injustice hit harder than the missing files themselves. I opened the backup folder. Nothing. Every attempt at recovery was met with a blank screen, an empty file path. My pulse quickened, but a strange clarity came with it. They thought erasing my work would erase me. They were wrong. I was still here, breathing, thinking, planning. I traced a finger along the edge of my desk again, tapping rhythmically, letting the beats sync with my thoughts. Not on my watch. I could almost hear the whisper of my mentor's advice from years back. Keep the receipts. Mia, always keep the receipts. Sevens. And suddenly, the weight of the betrayal transformed. The shock became fuel. The anger became strategy. Every sound, every scent, every tactile sensation, the warm coffee, the cool desk, the soft hum of the office, sharpened my focus. They thought they could erase my contribution, erase my team's effort. But they had no idea how meticulous I could be. I began to plan, quietly, deliberately. Spreadsheet by spreadsheet, email by email, document by document. Each piece of proof I could find would be a brick in the wall I was going to build around the truth, around justice, around what was rightfully ours. The office lights flickered slightly, momentarily casting the room in shadows. I watched my reflection again in the glass, the city lights faint behind me, and I smiled, just a small, private curl of the lips. They underestimated me. Every minute that passed, every footstep on the linoleum floor outside my office, every quiet murmur from colleagues, each became part of the rhythm of my plan. I could almost feel it taking shape, coalescing in the quiet, tense energy of the morning. This was no longer just a loss. This was the beginning of something much bigger. The screen before me still blank in places, the files erased, yet somehow the emptiness felt electric. I was ready, not just to recover what was lost, but to prove something bigger, something they'd never see coming. And as I leaned back, the coffee cooling in my hand, I whispered once more, just barely audible. Sevens? They don't know what I've got. The office hummed around me, oblivious to the storm quietly gathering in one corner. But I felt it. The tension, the anticipation, the simmering, undeniable pulse of coming reckoning. And in that quiet, reflective moment, I knew one thing with absolute certainty. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Would you walk away or fight back? Tell me in the comments. The conference room smelled like fresh coffee and ambition. That sharp, bitter scent that always lingered right before someone tried to sell a lie. I walked in, calm on the outside, storm on the inside. The hum of the projector filled the air, steady, mechanical, predictable. Nothing else in that room was. Fluorescent light flickered faintly overhead, reflecting off the chrome edge of the table, off glass walls that made everything feel transparent and exposed, except the truth. My boss, Patrick, stood at the front, crisp suit, too white smile, the kind of confidence that didn't come from hard work, but from taking credit for someone else's. He adjusted his tie, cleared his throat, and clicked the remote. The first slide lit up. The campaign results. Q4 growth. My campaign. My sleepless nights. My numbers. I watched his fingers gesture toward my work like it belonged to him. The cursor circled metrics I had bled for. Late nights. No weekends. Coffee-stained reports. Each number he boasted about was a knife sliding a little deeper. He said, "The client loved the creative direction. It really drove engagement." Sevens, and I heard the way people nodded. The sound of chairs creaking, pens tapping against notebooks. No one looked my way. My reflection stared back at me from the glossy tabletop, steady, composed, unreadable. Inside, I was fire. "Not today," I whispered, lips barely moving. Patrick continued, his tone slick and self-assured. The new strategy exceeded expectations, 28% growth in 2 months. He smiled toward the executive seated near the window, sunlight haloing him like he was blessed. I glanced at his hand, smooth movements, casual confidence. The kind of body language that says, I own this room. But there was something else. A twitch near his jaw when he spoke the numbers. A hesitation, quick but visible. He was nervous. Good. Across the table, Monica scribbled notes in her leather-bound book, her pen scratching softly, rhythmic. She glanced up, meeting my eyes for just a second, then quickly looked away. She knew. She had seen the emails. But fear keeps mouths shut. Patrick's laughter broke through the hum of the projector. This campaign put us back on track. I couldn't have done it without everyone's support. He didn't even flinch when he said it. Didn't even hesitate before erasing me again. The faint click of laptop keys filled the silence between his sentences. Someone coughed. Someone else whispered something that sounded like admiration. The tension pulsed through the air, subtle, invisible, electric. I leaned back slowly, the chair creaking beneath me. The cold metal pressed into my palms. My heartbeat steady now. Not fast, controlled. The kind of calm you only get when you already see 10 moves ahead. I watched his reflection in the glass wall beside us, every gesture magnified, his hands cutting through the air like a conductor directing a stolen symphony. My symphony. Smile, Mia, I told myself silently. Let him have his show. When the slide changed to the revenue chart, the one I had built from scratch, he paused, fumbling slightly with the clicker. The silence stretched. I saw sweat bead at the edge of his temple, just enough to catch the light. Micro-expressions don't lie. That's when I knew. He knew I knew. I folded my hands neatly on the table. My nails tapped the wood, soft but deliberate. 1, 2, 3. Each tap was a promise. The room felt smaller now, heavier. The air conditioning whirred above, fighting the tension it couldn't cool. He looked at me once, quick, darting, pretending it was casual. I held his gaze, calm, unreadable. He looked away first. That was the moment I stopped being angry and started being certain. Because when people lie with that kind of confidence, they forget. Someone in the room was paying attention. Someone who had kept every draft, every timestamp, every email thread, every version of the truth. He wrapped up the presentation, applause scattered like crumbs. Executives smiled, murmuring their approval. He exhaled, relieved, shaking hands, laughing too loudly. It was over for him. He just didn't know it yet. I stood, gathered my notebook, my laptop. The pages felt smooth, cool under my fingertips. My pulse had slowed. My mind, sharper than it had been in weeks. As I turned toward the door, I heard him say it. Sevens, great work, need team. Sevens, not even a glance in my direction. I smiled, not the kind of smile you give when you're happy, but the kind that hides something waiting, something earned. You'll see, I whispered, so low it was swallowed by the room's hum. Outside, the hallway light was softer, warmer. The sound of typing and distant conversations faded behind me as I walked. My reflection followed in the glass panels, steady, patient, sure. I wasn't going to confront him. Not yet. That's not how you win. You win by knowing exactly when to strike, when the truth lands hardest, when the evidence speaks louder than anger ever could. In the distance, someone laughed. Someone else complained about a client call. The world kept moving, like nothing had happened. But I had already started pulling the threads. Each step toward my office was measured. I could feel the story reshaping itself in real time. He thought this was his victory speech, but it was just his confession. He just hadn't realized it yet. When I reached my desk, the glow of the monitor reflected across my face. My backup drive sat quietly beside it, almost humming with promise. I ran my finger over it, slow, thoughtful. "They don't see me yet," I murmured. "But they will." The hum of the office faded into background static. My heartbeat synced with the rhythm of the hard drive light blinking, steady, alive. Proof, power, patience. 3 things they never saw coming. And in that soft, humming silence, I smiled again, small, knowing. Because sometimes revenge doesn't start with fire. It starts with a quiet click. 7s, and a woman who never forgets. Be honest. What would you do if it was you sitting in that room? Drop your thoughts below. I want to hear you. 7s. The office feels different at night. Not quiet. Never quiet. Just thinner. Like the air is holding its breath. The overhead lights hum a tired tune, the kind you only hear when everyone's gone home and the machines start whispering to each other. My monitor glows blue on my face, turning my skin into glass and shadow. The scent of stale coffee and burnt printer ink hangs in the air, reminders of the hours no one counts, the effort no one thanks. I scroll through the files again, one by one. Every project name, every folder I built, every version that was revised, cleaned, streamlined. 7s. All stamped under his name now. My boss. The man who smiled through lies. I exhale slowly, steadying my hands on the keyboard. "Okay, Mia," I whisper. "Let's do this right." 7s. The cursor blinks back at me, patient, pulsing, almost alive. It knows. Tonight isn't about anger. It's about proof. I open the internal database, Marketing Budget 2025, the one he claimed to personally manage. My fingers hover, then type commands in quick, silent bursts. Every keystroke feels surgical. I'm not hacking. I'm just uncovering what's already there, buried beneath arrogance and bad faith. The hum of the computer deepens as if it can sense purpose. I start cross-referencing spreadsheets. Campaign spend, influencer payments, internal transfers. Every number that should have gone to team bonuses has been rerouted to his personal fund, labeled as consulting fees. Vince, a bitter laugh catches in my throat. "Oh, you sloppy bastard," I murmur, shaking my head. For a second, the thrill flickers through me, sharp, cold, electric. Power feels different when it's quiet like this. It's not about rage. It's about clarity. The sound of the air conditioner kicks on above, making the papers on my desk tremble. The glow from the hallway exit light reflects faintly off my watch. Everything feels heightened, every sound, every flicker of light, every heartbeat in my fingertips. I copy the files into a secure folder. Receipts, MJ. Encrypted. Time-stamped. Mirrored to an off-site drive. It takes 10 minutes. I watch the progress bar crawl across the screen, each percent like a pulse. 91. 92. 93. My leg bounces beneath the desk. I sip cold coffee. "You'll see soon enough," I whisper. When it hits 100%, I exhale through a smile I don't remember forming. Then I build the reveal. I open a section of the company's analytics dashboard, the one every executive uses during monthly reports. I start weaving a line of code that looks like harmless automation, but beneath it, I bury a script. Sevens. When triggered, it will pull live data from the company's internal ledgers and display one quiet truth, where every cent of the bonus fund really went. My fingers dance. Click. Tap. Scroll. Backspace. The room fades around me until it's just light and rhythm and breath. I test it twice. Once in hidden mode. Once in live preview. Perfect. For a moment, I lean back in my chair, the fake leather cold against my skin. It's funny. Revenge doesn't look like fire. It looks like focus. Out of habit, I glance toward the glass wall that separates my corner from the open cubicles. My reflection stares back, tired, but steady. That woman in the glass? She's done shrinking herself. The office clock ticks past midnight. I gather my bag, close the laptop halfway, then pause. A thought hums through my chest like a bass line. Sevens. You wanted credit, Greg? You'll get it. Sevens. I smile, slow and certain, and finish the shutdown sequence. The screens fade to black, but the reflection lingers, a ghost of light across my face. Tomorrow, he'll walk into that meeting believing he's untouchable. And I'll be there, waiting. The hum of the servers fills the silence again, steady, eternal, almost approving. Then, darkness. You won't believe what happens next. Hit subscribe so you don't miss it. Sevens. Morning light cuts through the glass walls like judgment. It's too bright, too honest. The kind of light that makes everything look cleaner than it really is. The office smells like burnt coffee and polished wood. That same heavy blend of caffeine and ambition that hangs in the air every morning, thick enough to taste. The hum of the air vents mixes with low chatter, good mornings that sound too bright, laughs that crack just a second too late. Everyone's pretending it's just another Thursday. But it's not. Not for me. I walk in, slow, steady. Laptop tucked under my arm, fingers pressed tight against the smooth metal, like I'm holding something more than just a machine. Like it's armor. The carpet muffles my steps, but I can still hear my heartbeat in my ears, not from fear, not anymore. From focus. From remembering everything that led to this moment. He's already there. Greg. Leaning on the conference table, one hand in his pocket, the other waving mid-sentence like he's conducting an orchestra of lies. The suit's too tight around his stomach, but the smile, that fits perfectly. Polished, practiced, poisonous. He's talking about team synergy again, the phrase he loves to hide behind whenever he's about to steal. He says it like it's sacred, like it means something. But for him, team synergy really means my work, his name. I take a seat. Not in the back, not at the end, right across from him. Close enough to catch every twitch, every shift in his voice. Close enough for him to know I'm watching. The projector hums to life, painting a soft light over his face. That sterile, bluish glow turns his smile ghostly. He clicks to the first slide, and there it is. My work, my data, my graphs, my late nights turned into bullet points. No name, no mention, just our findings. I keep my face still, no flinch, no smile, just still. That's the part they never teach you. How to keep your expression steady while your stomach twists and your throat burns with words you can't say yet. I glance around the room. Jordan from analytics, eyes darting between me and Greg, the kind of look that says she knows. Maria's tapping her pen, slow and anxious, like she's counting heartbeats. Even the intern looks uneasy. They all see it. But no one says it. Because in this room, truth is currency. And Greg owns the vault. He keeps talking. His voice smooth, confident, like he's giving birth to brilliance in real time. He points at the chart I built, every color-coded bar I agonized over, and says, "Sevens. This was a joint effort from the entire leadership team." Sevens, joint effort. That phrase hits harder than any insult, because it erases without touching. It steals without taking. It kills your name while smiling in your face. I sip my coffee to hide the tremor in my hand. It's gone cold, bitter, burnt, unforgiving. Just like the room. The fluorescent lights buzz overhead, flickering slightly. They make everything feel colder, flatter. Even the fake greenery by the window looks tired. The blinds are half open, stripes of sunlight cutting through the glass walls, slicing the air into thin lines of gold and shadow. In one of those strips, I catch my reflection, faint, fractured. Same room, same people, different truths. I breathe slow, grounding myself in the details, the scrape of chairs, the sound of pens against paper, the faint tap of Greg's wedding ring against the table every time he gestures. That tiny, rhythmic tap, it's like a countdown. He doesn't even realize it, but he's marking time for his own undoing. I let him talk. Let him shine. Let the lies stack high enough to cast their own shadow. Because I've learned something. Sevens. When you're the only one who knows the truth, silence becomes strategy. He glances at me mid-sentence, maybe to see if I'll react, if I'll shift, flinch, protest. I meet his eyes, calm, unreadable. That unsettles him. I can see it. The faint crease between his brows, the flicker of doubt in his pupils. He clears his throat, clicks to the next slide, another stolen idea. Another theft dressed up in confidence. The room hums with forced attention. I can feel the tension crawling under the surface, that mix of admiration and discomfort people feel when they know someone's lying, but don't want to be the one to say it. Inside my head, a quiet voice whispers, not anger, not fear, just clarity. Let him finish. Let him dig deeper. Every lie is just another receipt. The air feels thick now, heavy with words unsaid. Even the hum of the AC sounds louder, like the building itself is holding its breath. I tilt my head slightly, pretending to take notes, but my fingers are steady on the keyboard, each keystroke quiet, deliberate. Not a record of what he says, but of what he steals. My pulse evens out. Calm. Controlled. Cold. He ends the presentation with a smile too wide, too white. Applause follows, shallow, polite, plastic. The kind of clapping that doesn't mean agreement, just compliance. He nods, basking in it. He thinks this is over. But I know better, because I can already see the next scene. The moment when those same slides, those same numbers, will appear again. Only next time. The name on them will be mine. And Greg's practice smile will finally break. I close my laptop, slow and steady. He looks at me again, a little longer this time, like he's trying to read something in my face. But all he sees is calm. He has no idea that calm is the sharpest blade I own. And as the meeting ends, I whisper to myself, so quietly it's almost breath. Sevens. Keep smiling, Greg. Your show's almost over. Sevens. The room fills one by one. Sevens. Jasmine, with her quiet nods. Ethan, spinning a pen between his fingers. The interns pretending to look busy while checking if Greg laughs at their jokes. I take the seat near the back corner, not hiding, just watching. The chair creaks when I settle in. The fabric's cold against my skin. My laptop warms up with a soft hum, its fan whispering secrets I already know. I open the dashboard I built last night. It sits quietly in the background, invisible to everyone else. For now. Greg claps his hands. All right, team. Let's show corporate what innovation looks like. Sevens. The projector flickers on. Bright, white, humming. A slideshow appears. My slideshow, my numbers, my campaigns, and his name sitting neatly at the bottom right corner. My throat tightens, but not from surprise. It's the weight of déjà vu, watching theft dressed as leadership. I trace the rim of my coffee cup, feel the heat soak into my fingertips. Inhale, exhale. He's still talking. Words like vision, alignment, ownership. I hear them, but my mind is elsewhere, mapping each file, each data set, each line of code that's about to rewrite his little script. He turns to the screen, gesturing like a man conducting an orchestra that's not even his. People nod, smile. Every nod is a note of complicity. The scent of cinnamon creamer drifts from someone's mug. The clock ticks louder than it should. Somewhere, a phone vibrates against a desk, 3 short hums, then silence. I lean back, eyes half-lidded, studying faces. Ethan's brow furrows when numbers don't add up. Jasmine glances at me, quick, almost questioning, like she can feel the tremor in the air. Greg doesn't notice. He never does. I rest my palm over the trackpad, not clicking, just feeling the pulse of the machine beneath. Its soft vibration matches my own heartbeat, steady, controlled, precise. Not yet, I whisper. He keeps talking. A bead of sweat crawls down his temple, catching the light. He wipes it away with the back of his hand, laughing too loud at his own joke. He's nervous. He doesn't even know why. The AC hums louder. Papers rustle. A pen rolls off the table and hits the carpet with a dull thud. Tiny things, all happening at once, all feeding the rhythm of the moment. I glance at the reflection on the conference screen, my face faintly mirrored behind the slides. For a second, I see both of us there. Vince, the thief, and the one who watched him dig his own grave. My voiceover runs quietly in my head. Sevens. You ever watch a man build his own trap? It's beautiful, the precision of arrogance. Sevens. He turns to the room again. Let's move to the financial highlights, he says, flashing that grin that never reaches his eyes. He clicks through the slides, click, 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 until he stops at the last one. The one that hides the truth I left for him. He doesn't know it yet, but the key's already pressed. The trigger's already waiting. I sip my coffee, slow and quiet. The bitter taste feels perfect. My leg bounces under the table. I press it still. "Stay cool, Mia," I murmur. "Let it play." Sevens. Greg clears his throat. Before I present the bonus allocation report, I just want to say how proud I am of this team. Sevens. Proud. He says it like it costs him nothing. The room leans forward slightly, curious, hungry. He doesn't notice the small delay on the screen, the flicker in the data feed. But I do. The soft hum from my laptop deepens. A shadow crosses the projector beam, cutting light across his face. Almost there. I breathe. Greg looks at the slide, puzzled, then smiles again. He doesn't see the shift in the numbers yet. The system's syncing, recalculating. It'll take a few seconds. I glance at the door. Closed. No escape routes. Perfect. A hush rolls through the room, that strange kind of silence that only happens when something unseen is about to break. Even the air feels heavier, waiting. I set my coffee down, my fingers hovering over the trackpad. My pulse slows to match the fan's rhythm. "You wanted credit, Greg," I whisper under my breath. Here it comes. Sevens. The lights dim slightly as the projector auto-adjusts brightness. Faces glow pale blue in the reflection. Greg's hand twitches on the remote. My finger hovers over the key. The hum grows softer. Time stretches. Every eye is on the screen. And they have no idea the storm's already here. If you've ever been overlooked or underpaid, this part's for you. And if you feel that, hit that. Sevens. He office feels still. Not the quiet kind, but the kind that hums underneath the skin. Like everyone's talking too softly, moving too carefully, afraid to disturb something invisible. The lights overhead flicker every few seconds, that cold, corporate white glow that makes everything look sterile, clean, fake. I smell burnt coffee drifting from the break room, mixed with the faint tang of printer toner. Someone's shoes squeak down the hall. Every sound feels too loud, too close. I'm sitting at my desk, the screen in front of me a wall of blue light. The cursor blinks like it's breathing, waiting on me. That tiny pulse feels alive, like it knows what I'm about to do. Across the room, I catch David's reflection in the glass wall. Laughing. Loud. Careless. A little too sure of himself. That same laugh that filled the air when he erased my name from the project. It used to make my stomach twist. Now it just reminds me how sweet silence will sound when he runs out of words. I look down at my setup, my coffee, my flash drive, one neat folder. Everything in place, like a ritual, like armor. On the corner of my monitor, 3 open tabs wait quietly. Sevens, the budget sheets, the transaction logs, and the hidden archive only I can access. Weeks of gathering, months of pretending not to notice, years of learning how to move quiet. He thought I'd cry. He thought I'd quit. But I don't cry anymore. I document. I wait. And when the waiting's done, I act. My hand moves over the keyboard, light as breath. I type in 3 short commands. Green lines roll down the screen, fast, clean, obedient. Each one a piece of truth, finding its way back into the light. I lean back, exhale slow. Almost time. A few desks away, Nia taps her pen against her notebook, that nervous rhythm again. Marcus scrolls through his emails, his face blank, half bored. They don't know yet. They don't know today's the day the story rewrites itself. David passes behind me, the smell of his cologne thick and artificial. "Ready for the big one, Mia?" he asks, tone smooth like he's already won. I turn slightly, give him the calmest smile I've ever worn. "Always," I say. He grins, clueless, and walks off. That's when I whisper, just low enough for the air to keep the secret. "You won't see it coming." Evans. I watch him go. That confident stride, that perfect posture. And all I can think is how fragile power looks when you know where the cracks are. The clock on my screen flips to 8:57. 3 minutes. I check the presentation again. Slide 23 looks harmless, quarterly data, clean charts, bland corporate blue. But one click beneath it lies the truth. Sevens, the bonus fund transfers, the emails, the fake invoices, all waiting for their moment. 5 steps. That's all it takes. 1 click, 2 seconds, and the story shifts hands. I breathe out, slow and steady. It's funny. When you're about to set something free, time feels thick. Like air turns to water and you're moving through it, steady but heavy. The sounds around me start to blur. Keyboard clicks fade. Footsteps dissolve. All I can hear is the soft hum of the air conditioner and my own heartbeat counting down. This isn't revenge. It's correction. It's balance. 9 o'clock. The meeting link pops up on my screen. Voices start to fill the digital space. Cheerful, tired, routine. "Morning. Can you hear me? Let's make this quick." Sevens. David's voice cuts through them all. "All right, folks, let's dive in." Sevens. I click. Join. The reflection on my screen fades into faces, squares of people I know too well. They look calm, safe, unaware that the air itself is about to change. My mouse hovers over share screen. For a second, I let the silence stretch, long enough to taste it. Then, quietly, like a confession, I whisper, "It's showtime." Sevens. The moment I hit share screen, time forgets how to move. The cursor freezes mid-blink. The blue light spills across my face, and for one long heartbeat, everything is still. The kind of stillness that hums under your skin, like thunder waiting for its cue. Slide 23 flashes onto the monitors. Charts. Numbers. Clean, corporate calm. David starts speaking. Confident, smooth, already performing. But then the next slide fades in, and the room stops. At first, they don't understand what they're seeing. Transaction logs, account names, wire transfers, all stamped with his signature. For a breath, no one moves. Then a chair squeaks. A pen drops. The air shifts. Sharp, electric. David blinks at the screen, eyes narrowing. This isn't..." Sevens. I can hear whispers now. Soft, uncertain. "Wait, what is that?" Sevens. "Those are bonus payments?" Sevens. "That's his name right there. Look." Sevens. The room ripples with sound, small gasps, a cough, the rustle of someone's sleeve brushing the table. It feels like the whole floor is inhaling the same disbelief. I stay quiet. Let them watch. Let the truth speak louder than I ever could. David clears his throat again, trying to find his voice. "Mia, I don't know what you think you're..." Vince. I turn slightly toward him, calm, collected. Just showing the data. David. Same numbers you approved. My tone is steady, low, even almost kind. That kind of calm that shakes people more than anger ever could. The lights overhead flicker, casting faint shadows across the conference table. In those reflections, glass, screens, polished wood, I see their faces. Seven's. Shock in Nia's wide eyes. Seven's. Disbelief tightening Marcus's jaw. Seven's. Fear curling at the corners of David's smirk. He's trying to smile. It's the kind of smile that hides panic, not pride. His fingers drum the table once, twice, then stop. I click again. The next slide blooms open. Emails, CCs, approvals, timestamps. Everything lining up too perfectly to deny. Someone whispers, "Oh my God." Seven's. Another says, "She saved everything." Seven's. Yes, I did. I've been saving everything. Every edit, every email, every erased name. The fluorescent lights buzz above like nervous energy. The air feels thick now, like the room itself knows it's been lying too long. David's voice cracks as he tries again. This could be taken out of context. Seven's. I tilt my head, slow. Then maybe you should explain the context. Seven's. The words land soft, but heavy. They hang in the air between us, a blade wrapped in silk. He looks around the room for support. Nobody meets his eyes. Marcus stares down at the table. Nia folds her hands tight in her lap. The silence turns into a wall he can't climb. Then the HR director clears her throat. "I think we need to pause this meeting," she says, her voice careful, controlled. "And perhaps involve the board." Seven's. David opens his mouth, then shuts it again. That's when I see it. The moment he realizes it's over. The confidence drains from his shoulders. His reflection in the glass looks smaller, thinner, almost human. I don't gloat. I don't smile. I just breathe. Because this isn't about humiliation. It's about truth coming home. The screen glows brighter now, the light reflecting across my fingertips. For a second, it feels like all those nights, all that silence, all that patience are standing right here with me. I whisper, quiet enough that only I can hear. Seven's. Finally. Seven's. Someone exhales, a soft, shaky sound. Then another voice, somewhere down the table, says, "Seven's. She really did it." Seven's. The HR director looks at me. "Mia, we'll need those records for review." Seven's. "They're already with the board," I say simply. The words fall like keys turning in a lock. David's face pales. And that's when I see it. The power shift. Not loud, not sudden, just inevitable. He leans back, defeated, his hand pressed to his forehead. For once, he has nothing to say. The room sits in silence, heavy, but clean. The kind of silence that feels like air after a storm. I glance at the screen one last time. The proof, the numbers, the truth, all laid bare in cold light. Then I stop sharing, close the laptop gently. My reflection fades with the glow. I rise, smooth my blazer, and say softly, "Seven's, I believe my part's done here." Seven's. And as I walk out, the air behind me feels lighter. People don't speak yet. They just watch, quiet, knowing something just changed. In the hallway, sunlight spills through the glass, warm and real, not fluorescent, not artificial. For the first time in a long time, the light feels honest. I exhale, the kind that carries years of weight in one breath, and whisper, Sevens. Justice don't need noise, just proof. Sevens. Then I walk on. Sevens. The morning after feels different. It's the same city, same skyline, same streetlights still fading from the dawn, but something inside me shifted. The air's cleaner, sharper. The world's still spinning fast, but I'm finally still. I walk past the glass tower, that cold, beautiful building where I learned what betrayal smells like. Coffee, toner, and cheap lies. Every floor in there carries a memory. The long nights, the quiet victories, the stolen credit, the whispered good job that was never mine to claim. And now, it's just another building, because I took my name back. The lobby guard nods at me, softer this time, like he knows. Like maybe the story reached even down here, past the marble floors and silence. He doesn't say a word. He doesn't need to. That's the thing about truth. Once it's out, it travels on its own. Inside, they're holding meetings, investigations, HR statements polished in corporate tone. But I'm not there. I don't need to defend what's already proven. Still, I can feel the echo of yesterday, the air tightening before I dropped the receipts, that collective inhale before the lie collapsed, the way David's voice cracked mid-sentence, shock turning into silence, silence turning into truth. People say revenge feels like fire, but they're wrong. It feels like clarity, like the moment the fog lifts and you see the skyline for what it is, sharp, bright, and honest. For months, I was invisible. They took my work, my words, my late nights, and put someone else's name on it. And I almost believed that's just how it was. Almost. But every injustice leaves traces, a line of code, a timestamp, a spreadsheet cell no one thought to hide. And I kept them all. Quietly. Patiently. Not to destroy anyone, but to protect myself from being erased again. They don't teach you that in business school. They don't tell you how to survive when you're the only Black woman in the room, when your excellence makes people nervous, when your silence is mistaken for weakness. So I learned my own way, to listen between the words, to move while they talk, to fight without shouting. Because the world doesn't always hear our anger, but it always feels our excellence. I think about all the nights I stayed in that office, long after everyone left, the hum of the computer like a heartbeat, the glow of the monitor painting my face in blues and whites. Each keystroke was a promise. Sevens. You will not be erased. And I kept that promise. When I hit send yesterday, forwarding every hidden receipt, every stolen draft, every transfer David thought was invisible, it wasn't anger that moved me. It was peace. A calm so deep it felt sacred. I watched truth do what truth always does. Rise. And the room, that same boardroom where my voice had once been cut short, went silent. The kind of silence that changes people, that rearranges power. Afterward, I didn't celebrate, didn't gloat. I just packed my things, my coffee mug, my worn notebook, my peace, and I walked out. Not in shame, in freedom. Because real revenge isn't about making them hurt, it's about making yourself whole again. When I reached the street, I didn't look back. The sun was low, gold spilling across the glass. My reflection followed me for a while, then faded, like a ghost finally set free. I stopped by a small cafe on the corner, one I'd passed every day but never entered. Today, I did. The barista smiled. "You look like you've been through something big." "Sevens." I smiled back. "Something true." Sevens. I sat by the window with my coffee, watching people rush past, phones in hand, deadlines on their backs, and for the first time in months, I didn't feel like I was behind. I was ahead. I thought about my team, the ones who whispered thank you in the hallway, the quiet nods of solidarity. We knew. We all knew. We just needed someone to prove it. And I did. They'll be fine now. Bonuses restored, credits fixed, voices heard. That's my real reward. Not applause, not headlines. Just justice. Quiet, clean, and complete. And if you're listening to this, if you've ever sat in a meeting watching someone else take your work, your words, your worth, I want you to remember this. Sevens. You don't have to explode to make an impact. You don't have to scream to be powerful. Keep your receipts. Keep your calm. Keep your dignity. And when the time comes, let your work speak for you. Because the loudest sound in any room is the truth. And it doesn't need volume. It just needs timing. I lean back, sip my coffee, and watch the sunlight dance across the table, tiny ripples of gold over the steam. For a moment, everything feels still. Not the kind of stillness that's empty, but the kind that's full of breath, of relief, of quiet victory. I whisper under my breath. Sevens. You did good, girl. Sevens. Not because anyone else needs to hear it. Sevens, but because I do. There's a kind of power in walking away whole, in knowing you didn't lose yourself to the fight. That's the part they'll never understand. And maybe that's okay, because this story, my story, isn't about revenge anymore. It's about respect for the work, for the truth. For every woman who ever built something and watched it get stolen and still stood tall enough to rebuild again. The city outside keeps moving. Cars, conversations, the hum of a world that never slows down. But for me, right here, right now, time stops, and I breathe. Because I finally know what freedom feels like. Not running, not fighting, just standing, right where I belong.